I'd like to share a key element of my success that has served me really well through the years. I'd like to tell you a few stories, and the moral of these stories is don't panic. Now, we all panic. We all have emotional reaction to events that come up, and we have to manage those things properly in order to be successful. And this is a lesson that I've learned that I'd like to pass on because I think it's been really helpful in my life. I'd like to tell you a few stories. One of them was I was driving a truck, and it was a pretty good-sized truck. It was 10 or 12 tons of truck, big enough. And I'm going up a steep hill, and on either side of the hill is a pretty sharp drop-off into a ravine. And it's snowy, and it's icy, and I'm trying to be really careful. And as I inch my way up that hill, I get about 3/4 of the way up the hill, and the back tires break loose, and they start spinning, and I start sliding backwards. I immediately slam on the brakes. That doesn't do any good. I'm continuing to slide. And sliding around in a passenger car can be a little bit of fun, but for me, sliding in a big truck, absolutely terrifying, especially when I have a drop-off on either side of the road that could be pretty disastrous if I slide into. And so I stayed in my head, and I immediately let go of the brakes, because then I'm still going backwards, but at least my tires are rolling, and I have a little bit of steering control. And I was able to save the truck. I used to work as a manufacturing consultant, pretty high-level consultant, and I had reached pretty much the pinnacle of our consulting group because I knew the product extremely well, and I could resolve problems quickly and efficiently that some others would struggle with. But I think the real key was the approach. There was a major manufacturer whose systems were down, and that meant that their manufacturing plant couldn't operate, and their office people couldn't do anything either. They couldn't process orders, order materials, issue shop floor orders, do invoicing, payroll. Everything was down. And this manufacturer had tried for a few days to resolve the issues unsuccessfully. They finally agreed to pay my consulting rate to go across the world, come in, and deal with it. I arrive on site, and as I arrive at the front door, I am met by the company president, his chief financial officer, and the plant manager. And they are in an absolute panic because they're losing thousands of dollars per minute, having this entire facility non-operational. And they said, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. How quickly can you get us running?" I have no idea. They said, where should we start? Do you want to go down to the plant floor? Do you want to go to the computer room? Or what do you want to do? Which I said, I think I'd like to go to the conference room. And any chance? Got a cup of coffee? I need to understand this, formulate a plan, and we'll get you fixed as soon as we can. And it was my ability to look at a flaming disaster, stand back, and say, we need to fix this, rather than panicking. One more story. This happened just recently. I'm in my office, and I hear a crash on the other side of the house. And moments after that crash, I hear my wife screaming. Fortunately, not screaming in pain, but screaming in anger. So I decide I better go find out what's happening. I wander down there and discovered that the cat had knocked over a piece of equipment that was fragile, expensive, and mine. And she was yelling at the cat for doing that. Now, Is yelling at the cat going to fix or replace a broken piece of equipment? No, not at all. And is yelling at the cat going to change the cat's behavior? I don't think so. Cats are really smart and they can definitely be trained. But they're not real good at connecting causality. The cat is just being a cat, doing the cat thing. And next thing it knows, it's got this crazy, raging human screaming at it. And so the cat's going to just simply think, what a jerk. It's not going to understand. And what's going to be the effect of raging out? Well, when I do that, I'm not very happy. It's not a happy mental place for me to be wigged out, screaming at something or somebody. I don't enjoy it. And it takes me a while to calm myself back down. I waste 30 minutes or an hour just being spizzed out emotionally before I can get myself back centered, calm down, and re-achieve a state of wu-wei where I can do effective work. Emotions flare up, but you have a choice as to whether or not you want to grab that emotion and go for a ride with it, or if you want to just see that tidal wave of emotion come in and go, okay, gotcha. We need to do something. And stay in your head and analyze the situation and address it logically and reasonably and with appropriate proportions. Now, I'm not saying that emotions are useless. They're extremely important. I think of our emotions as a sixth sense. And I don't mean a sixth sense in some kind of spiritual, premonition-y sort of way. I mean a sixth sense, like our hearing, our smell, our touch, emotions, just another sense. And it's a cumulative indicator, like a dial gauge on the dashboard, that tells us whether or not the environment that we are in is congruent with our expectations and desires. And if there's a disconnect between what we want to have happening and what is really happening, well, we start feeling these discordant emotions. So it's an important indicator as to whether or not we're on the right track at the moment. But you can't just grab that indicator and let it drive your life, because it doesn't give you details as to what's going on. It just tells you something's not right. You need to look at the situation. And so it's up to you to determine, is this a situation that is pliable? Can I fix it? Can I manipulate or change this situation to make it congruent with my desires? Or are my desires not based on reality? I might have a beach house and I get upset when the tide comes in and it takes away half my beach every day. But I'm not going to go out there and hold back the tide. You have to look at your emotions as an indicator rather than as a core part of your being. It's just like your other senses. It just is there to provide information for you to consider and you to think about and work through. But I see so many people just grabbing onto those emotions and riding that wave and letting it take them somewhere without thought. It's like when somebody says something insulting to a person and they just get triggered and punch them without thinking. That's not a direction for a good life, in my opinion. When people say things like, oh, I'm really angry, or I'm really happy, or I'm very insulted by what that guy said, or when I find myself using those sorts of statements, I try to soon step in and correct myself and say, no, that's not true. I feel angry. I feel happy. I'm feeling disrespected. But I am not disrespected. The core me is not disrespected. It's a feeling that I have that's telling me that something isn't the way I want it to be right now. And maybe that's a call to action. Maybe it's not. Maybe I need to look at the situation and understand it more. That's what it's telling me. So that is a key to my success, is the ability to look at a situation and not emotionally get connected to it immediately. Well, that's not true. I emotionally get connected to it. I feel it for sure. But I'm able to step back and say, that's my emotion, and that's over there. But what's really going on? Is this legitimate? And what is the best approach I should take in this situation? And to think it through before moving forward with some kind of action. Because if you get yourself all emotional and you're wound up in that feeling, chances are you're probably not going to be making the most careful, thoughtful, logical decisions. And we see this all the time in the world of advertising and politics. They try to get people really angry or scared because people make lousy decisions when they're in that mindset. And we always have the choice to look at how we feel before we act. So being able to look at my emotions and separate myself mentally from them a little bit, stand back and say, what's really going on here? Why am I so upset? What's this discord between reality and my desires? Rather than just grabbing onto that tidal wave and going for a ride wherever it takes me, has been a key in helping me make better, more thoughtful decisions in life. And I think it's something that more people could benefit from. Hopefully this is useful to you. I know that you already have a pattern of good decision making because you're watching this channel, and I appreciate that. So thanks for stopping by. And if you choose to subscribe, if you choose to thumb up the video, I'd like that. And until next time, I'll catch you later, and best wishes on your journey.